2020 of the Board of Commissioners for the Greater Boca Raton Beach Park District is now called to order. It is Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. The time is 6 p.m. Joanne, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ernst?
Here.
Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Rollins?
Here.
Commissioner Vogelson?
Here.
Commissioner Ray?
Thank you, Joanne. Welcome. We'd like to welcome you to the reconvening of our second public hearing. To let those of you who didn't attend on September 25th know, we recessed rather than adjourned our session. And although we had public requests, it is up to the discretion of this board to reopen them this evening. And seeing that so many of you have taken your time to come out tonight, I will reopen public requests. Please know, all of your comments that you made on September 25th are in the record, so you don't have to repeat anything you said the other night. Everything is already on the record, and it will be duly noted. Due to the restrictions of the Sunshine Law, the suggestions that were brought forth on Wednesday were not resolved. The City Council will meet, as will this board, to try to come up with a solution in an open and advertised forum. So just to clarify, to those who think that all of the proposed millage rates are for the golf course, they are not. They are for other projects, and Brianne is going to identify the upcoming areas that in need of funding. And this way we are going to be able to continue to be able to say that Boca Raton is a city within a park. Brianne?
We do have a lot of projects coming up. We have Gumbo Livo is one of our big projects. We also have Ocean Strand that we will eventually develop. We have tennis facilities that need to be rebuilt, tennis courts that need to be redone, Patriot Tennis. We also have to make some decisions out at Patriot Park with the community center, and also address the second field house, which is a need within the community. So we have a lot of projects on our plate for the future.
Okay, so since we are reopening public requests, Charlie Hestoy, is that how you pronounce it? Charlie Hestoy? Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
What's the address?
4540 Northwest 5th Avenue?
Did we have to fill out a card? Because all I did was sign in on the sheet.
It's not required, but it would be helpful.
You want a card on the little?
I'd love a card.
Dump the podium on anybody and break their leg.
Thank you, Joanne. You will have 3 minutes, and Joanne will be timing.
Where's the clock?
I have it right here.
Joanne has it right there.
Where do I see it?
You'll hear it when you get your template.
Okay, we'll go. And then we'll start? Okay.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'll give you a thumbs up, okay? Not on my 3 minutes, right? Charlie Helton, H-E-L-T-O-N, at 4540 Northwest Avenue here in Boca Raton. Okay, that's the reason I was surprised you were asking. I don't usually come to these things. I usually go to city council. But I assume these public meetings are something.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Charlie Helton. That's H-E-L-T-O-N. I live at 4540 Northwest 5th Avenue here in town, where I've lived for many years. I am here to talk about the golf course, because there are certain budget items related to the golf course, like design. So I guess that's a good way to put it. I'm talking about design of the golf course, which is in your budget. I have probably played Ocean Breeze, Boca T golf, whatever you want to call it, at least 1,000 times. So if you want me, I can show you every sand trap, water hazard, I know that. I support, that course, staying here in town, one shape or another, between the city council and you guys, if you quit arguing and figure out something, that it stays in the city. Okay. Now, what the course really needs, I'm an engineer, but I'm not a golf course architect, okay? But let me tell you what it needs. It needs two things. It needs a refresh. It does not need a $30, $40 million, bring in the bulldozers and tear the whole thing down and start all over again. Totally unneeded. And it's obvious now we've already bulldozed down the old clubhouse, that was a good thing. That was a raggedy old thing. So we do need a new, decent clubhouse with bar, restaurant, probably a couple of large meeting rooms for tournament activities, and other room that you can actually rent out and use for other activities and bring in a little money. Now, based on talking with a lot of folks on this, they do know a little bit more about costs of golf courses and so forth. It looks like a decent estimate to redo the golf course itself. It's probably in the neighborhood of maybe $4 to $6 million, give or take $1 million there. And a new clubhouse, same old thing, maybe $3, $4 million. So to have a kind of a nice golf course, new clubhouse, well, we're probably talking in that 10, 11, $12 million. And I suggest that that's exactly what we do. You in the city, however you guys can figure it out, okay? Now, I'm a car guy, okay? I love high-performance cars. I actually drive them, okay? Now, I love Ferraris. I really do. They're nice cars, and I appreciate them. The drive and the feel. Now, they sell for about $250,000 to about $3 million, okay? However, as a value shopper, I tend to recommend to myself and other value shoppers, probably the best deal out there for a performance car is a Camaro or like a Mustang GT. Get 460 horsepower, sports package, and everything. Nice car, only $50,000. Therefore, I do not support any kind of tax increase, whether you want to call it just a millage, and you're trying to say, oh, it's not really a tax increase, which of course it really is, if you keep the millage the same, okay?
Thank you,
If you're not
Mr.
supporting
Helton.
that,
Mr. Helton, your 3 minutes are up. Thank you very
I
much.
highly recommend you guys put a clock in here so that the speakers knows what's going on. Just saying getting stabbed in the back is not good form. Thank you.
Charles Passenride, 900 Northwest 9th Way.
Got my steps in for the day. Yeah, just a couple of thoughts. I attended several of these meetings early on. I haven't been to either the city or the beach and parks in quite a while. But I do play an awful lot of golf in Boca. And I was just wondering, it seems like where we are at now is that the beach and parks, if they raise your millage rate, are going to have enough money to basically implement the plans that you have from the architect now and do everything that needs to be done. But if that's the case, it seems to me, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that will leave the city, any financial responsibility of the city, totally out of the picture. And I think it would be a shame if the money that the city's going to get from the sale of the Boca Municipal Golf Course, if none of that is put back into the new golf course, because I feel that, you know, they talk about a new city hall and things like that, but I think we need smaller government, not bigger government, in the sense of buildings-wise, and I think that the people, not just golfers, but tennis players and all types of recreation and beach and parks activities, that a good portion of that money from Boca Municipal should be put back into, you know, and the golf course would just be part of that and other things, rather than, you know, using it for who knows what at this point. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows that. But, so I would hope that the beach and parks, and here again, I don't wanna, just thinking out loud, wouldn't let the city off too easily. Like, okay, we'll raise the millage rate, we don't need any of your $65 or $67 million, do what you want with it, and we just go it alone. I wish there could be some sort of compromise and at least, or a counter offer from Beach and Parks and an appeal to the city. Maybe you will get, I don't know what it was, 25 million that you asked for, maybe you could ask for 15 million, or maybe they go for that. But rather than just having it either or, we'll go it alone, without the city's help. I still wish there could be some sort of compromise between the two parties. And have, you know, from my observations, it just doesn't seem like there's a working together as much as there could be. And of course, I don't know the dynamics of all that, but I wish there was a little bit more good feeling between the two groups, and that was, we all kind of felt that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Charles.
Okay.
Greg Galanis, 1780 Parkside Circle South.
Hi guys, good evening. First of all, I personally want to thank you guys for all your hard work and efforts over the last 2.5 years. Again, my name is Greg Galanis and I live in Parkside in the city of Boca. I represent the Boca Golf Association. 2.5 years ago, we formed this group to promote the interests of City of Boca Raton resident golfers in the procurement, development, and operation of the new Boca Raton Municipal Golf Course. We represent the leagues who play Boca Muni regularly 2 to 3 times per week, 12 months per year. It's roughly 200 players. These are the people that are paying the bills over at Boca Muni. Our golfers got very concerned when the city decided to sell Boca Muni for $65 million to GL Homes. The land was purchased with taxpayer money for recreation purposes. With the push from Keep Golf in Boca folks, the city was forced into supporting the purchase of Ocean Breeze to develop a quality public golf course in Northeast Boca. Our group has attended and participated in the interviewing process and the bid process with all of the golf architects, 17 of them, and the selection process where Price Fazio was selected. For over 2 years, we've now worked with Beach and Parks and Price Fazio to help design a quality public golf facility in Northeast Boca Raton. The design, which consists of the west side, which has a championship 18 holes, bathroom and halfway house, a tunnel to cross 2nd Avenue safely, putting course, a practice facility, a learning center, temporary clubhouse, and card park. The reason that all these things are in there is fourfold. One was to promote golf for kids without access elsewhere. 2 was opportunity to partner with FAU, Lynn University, local high schools to be their home course and for the practice facility. 3 was to give people an opportunity to learn the game in a stress-free environment, keep the beginner traffic off of the championship course to optimize rounds played on the championship course, which lends itself to pace of play. And 4 is to allow people who don't have the time to play 18 holes a practice place to play a quick round of golf. All of these things were in the initial National Golf Foundation study that was recommended for our purposes. A simple facelift, as was suggested by the gentleman earlier, will not work. I've lived here for 25 years, and that golf course has gone out of business 3 times in that period of time. It was a good course in its day. Today, it is inappropriate. With the many course closures for new home development, there's a few places for residents to play.
Thank you, Greg. Sorry. But thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Snowden. Larry Snowden. And please. please know your previous comments are in the record, Larry.
What was that again?
Your previous comments from Wednesday are in the record.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, fellow commissioners. My name is Larry Snowden. Address 3160 Northwest 60th Street, Boca Raton, Florida. I live in the city limits of Boca Raton, lived there for 27 years. I'm a member and past president of the Seasons of Boca Raton HOA Board. I also serve in various other civic capacities within my city. I am a golfer. I was a regular player at Ocean Breeze Golf Course while it was operated by Arnold Palmer Golf. My reason for speaking tonight is to express my opposition to any millage or tax increase for the Beach and Parks District for its citizens. My reasons are, number one, the Beach and Parks District taxed a $300,000 home for approximately $275 in 2018. In 2019, those taxes increased on the same value home by 31% to $359. If you are now considering raising the millage rate even more than the 2020 amount required for a golf course, I encourage you not to. At our last meeting, I think I heard Commissioner Rollins mention the fact that the district needed at least a 5% increase to address things that they wanted to address. I'm encouraging you not to do that. Also, number two, $24 million was an outrageous price to pay for the Ocean Breeze property, considering that covenants restricted it to be used as a golf course only. Adding a tax increase to us on top of the overspending on that property is just wrong. Number three, a golf course is not a park. A golf course is not a beach. A golf course is an amenity that at best could serve 10% of the citizens in this district. Golf is declining in popularity. The supply of golf courses exceeds the demand. This trend is continuing, and no study or research shows it to be changing anytime soon. $25 to $28 million is an excessive amount to spend to build a golf course in Boca Raton. Thank you very much for your time and hearing me out this evening.
Thank you, Larry. Nancy Jo Feinberg.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Nancy Jo Feinberg. I know a little bit about golf. Played all my life. I was the Palm Beach County Women's Golf Association champion a number of times. I've been the club champ at Broken Sound, the club course as well as the old course quite a few times. I was on the Board of Governors at Broken Sound, and I was on the Greens Committee for years. When we oversaw the building of both Broken Sound courses, the club course and the old course, I was very involved in both of those processes and with the tweaking of the golf courses. And by the way, the old course at Broken Sound has been good enough for the last 12 years to be a PGA senior event site. They are excellent golf courses. And neither course costs the kind of dollars that you're talking about for rebuilding Ocean Breeze. I think Charlie Helton, who spoke earlier, I don't know him, but he was pretty on target with the money that he was talking about. It's unconscionable for you to think about spending $50 million to build a golf course for Boca Raton. It's obscene, and I would urge you not to do that, to let the city take it over and not to raise the millage for the golf course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Feinberg, 2624 Northwest 63rd Street. It is difficult to summarize in 3 minutes, so I want to cut through a couple of the arguments. One thing, one of the commissioners last week, and I believe mistakenly, implied that the property had development rights. Those had expired by now, and it'd be impossible to get back again. You would need both the Boca Chica residents and the city council, and the environment in Boca has changed. There's been a lot of development away from that area, and a lot of downtown, and there's building in the Northwest, and the people don't want more housing, and the Boca Chica people want to live on a golf course. So there's really, the property had no economic value when you guys agreed to pay $24 million, when the city was negotiating for a single-digit million number. And, honestly, it was worth a lot less than that. As well, I want to reiterate one of the points that Larry Snowden made last week, because I know this shocked a lot of people. They thought this golf course, wow, was being developed by the world-famous Tom Fazio. In fact, it's not. Tom Fazio has a son, and the two of them work together in a different golf development business. This is Tom Fazio's nephew, not the world-famous guy. So $28 million for a golf course that should cost, four to eight or something, from a second-tier golf developer is really kind of shocking. I know, and my other reason, there's no one here who doesn't believe we should have a golf course at Boca Chica. We all agree with that. It's just that you're spending too much money, and you've gone way too far down that road, which is why I'm insistent that you hand it off to the city. I know that the city was going to have a problem with that because of the sunshine laws. They needed to have a meeting in between your last meeting and this one so that they could formally agree to it. But I do know they have unanimous support to take it over and develop it themselves. The other point is that it has crowded out all the other tasks that Beach and Parks is supposed to be working on. I know when I first got into local politics 6 years ago, I was door knocking for a candidate, and people were telling me the biggest problem in Boca, besides downtown development, was that the youth athletic leagues were fighting over fields, that there weren't enough fields, and I know that that hasn't really changed. That's one of your responsibilities. That's significantly less expensive than the $50 million for the golf course, but it's being crowded out because you're devoting all of your funds to the golf course. So I really hope you'll continue on the path that Mr. Ernst suggested at the last meeting, that you'll hand over development of the golf course to the city. They will spend it out of their pocket, in part from the $65 million from the sale of the city course, although there's no relationship between them because that is going to be housing, and this is going to remain a golf course and have no economic value. But nevertheless, the city can do it in their current budget. And
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Glenn Groman.
Thank you, Commissioners. Glenn Groman, my address is exempt under Florida Statute 119. I want to give you a little history of this property, and it dates back to when it first went bust. When this property went belly up, the most recent time, the mortgage on the property, was $7 million. I led a group of investors and offered $12 million with the development rights in hand, and that was rejected. Here's a fact that you don't know, and I don't know, and no one's ever told you. A subsidiary of Lennar bought this property for X amount of dollars, and they flipped it to the city for $24 million. So I want to know from the commissioners, how much money did Lennar subsidiary make on the flip? What did they buy it for, and what did they sell it for? At the end of my presentation, I'd like to know that, if you know. If you don't know, that's a real problem. So let me go to that issue. So the purchase of this golf course for the price you paid for it is devoid of all rationale or reasonableness. It's not worth $24 million. It was never worth $24 million. If you had left it alone, the city could have bought it for $8 million. Okay. I also obtained two people to respond to the RFI that the city and Mr. Thompson put forward, and both of those parties indicated to me and indicated to the city that they could build a golf course for about $8 million. One of which had built 35 PGA level golf courses in Michigan and they were in the Michigan Gospel Hall of Fame, again, if that means anything. We should not raise taxes. The millage proposed is above the highest level you have in your little chart there. Raising taxes will destroy all the economic metrics that the city has worked so hard for in the last 12 years. All these ratings on the city as the best place to live, best place to retire, best place to open a business because we have low taxes. The other red herring that's been thrown out to the board is, well, if you only own, if your house is $300,000, it's only, $80 more a year. Well, if you have a $25 million property and you're leasing it out to people and you're leasing it out to tenants, it's a lot more than $88. It's in the tens of thousands of dollars, which have to get passed through to the tenants, which increase their rents because the pass-throughs are direct through. You've heard of triple net lease before, and that's not good for the city. We've worked for decades to make the city get a AAA bond rating, to be where it's got to be, and raising taxes never works. It doesn't work in New York. It doesn't work in New Jersey. It's not going to work in Boca Raton. Okay? I had a former commissioner from Delray Beach, send me a message on Facebook, and he said, "Keep raising taxes, Boca. It makes Delray more competitive with you." So that's
Thank you,
that's
Mr.
what I
Graham.
say. Thank you very much for your time.
Angela Sands.
Hi, everybody. Angelo Sands, 7348 East Country Club Boulevard, Boca. First of all, I'd like to thank Rob and Greg and Harold, Beach and Park City. This has been 2.5 years of attending meetings. And I'd like to thank everybody who has been involved in this. This is what this great country of ours is all about. I would like to, a couple items. One, I've always, and those of you that have heard me before, know that I've always considered the golf course the smart part of this. This is a community development project. A community development project. This area of the town lost the Boca Executive Course, lost Ocean Breeze. We're talking about hundreds of families that live on those courses, that their property value is decreasing, or maybe increasing at a decreasing rate. We've got thousands of people living in those condos, and direct or indirectly, okay? They're suffering because of what's happened to those two areas. I've always said that this is a big picture. The big picture is that this end of town needs an economic boost. And that's part of what this is all about. Second of all, it's an old thing. It's called vision. I tend to like to look at the big picture. Because, tonight we've heard estimates from 5 million to 50 million. Who are you going to believe? Okay? I concentrate on the big picture. What's vision? Vision is where we want to be. When you drive in here, you see a carousel over there. A carousel. Now, who would have ever thought, when they building that park, in the old days we called it a merry-go-round, okay? Who would have ever thought it was there? But those people had a vision. They weren't satisfied where they were. They wanted to know where they would be down the road. When you look at Meisner Park, they didn't build that for today or tomorrow. They built it with a vision of where this community was going down the road. I worked at FAU. I'm proud of the leadership at FAU who decided they weren't going to build a stadium because of where we were 5 years ago. They built a stadium based on where they wanted to be. And that's how I see this golf program. We keep talking a golf course. It's more than that. You want to be a number one city? Everybody in the United States knows Boca Raton. Why? Because we do things the right way.
Thank you, Angela.
Excuse me. Okay.
Sil Silberti.
Hello. Sil Ciliberti, Northwest 2nd Avenue, 6200. Why are we here? I'm going to remind everyone why we are here. A few years back, Lennar bought property, and what was happening was the board of directors on a few of our in Boca Chica were actually sitting down and talking with them, and one of the verbiages that came out was, we're sitting with Lennar to see what would be needed to lift the deed restrictions. Then a small army was born. And that's why this property became available, because thousands of signatures told Lennar, no way, you're not lifting the deed restriction. Not this time, it's not like it was. And that's why you guys have over 200 acres to develop. Now that's a shock. That's a huge shock. I know nobody wants the rate to go up, but their job is for the parks and development and to get the green space. That wouldn't have been green space if it wasn't for that army. We did have that vision. And not only about the carousel, right now we're all in a theater. No, it's a park. It's a theater with a carousel and a park, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff here. So my point is, you gotta have that vision. Steve Jobs said once, they don't know what they want until you show them. Maybe you can't, maybe we're not gonna raise the millage rate, but you know what? I think you guys should wait then. Save. We don't need instant gratification. Do it right. That's what we're asking, because community golf courses lose money. We don't have to make money, but you wanna make a mark, you want something to go and strive for, you want to try to buzz. The economic value is the publicity we're going to get and the people talking and wanting to see that new course in Boca. So don't raise the millage rate. I don't care, but don't rush it either. It's 200 acres. Divide that in a proportion to what your acreage is now, what you spend now, and give it its fair share. Because if it wasn't for that army, there wouldn't be this little war. And you know where we stand. Thank you.
Dana Strickland. No. We all want to hear you though.
Can everyone hear me from here? No. I don't know anything about golf. I'm a 6500 Northwest 2nd Avenue. I don't know anything about.
Hang on, bring your microphone.
Thank you. So I don't know anything about golf. I don't golf. But when I moved to Boca Chica, I did do it because there was supposed to be the golf course there. And it's almost like somebody said it before. You're sort of like the mall, where one half of the mall gets all the business and the other half of the mall gets none of the business. When you look at Boca, our side up there is really, it's dying. We've got nothing going on, and you do have all that room. And we should make this golf course a destination where people want to come. And you have all these schools. I have 2 teenagers in high school. They have golf clubs where as soon as school starts, the first thing they do is they ask you for money if you're part of that team. And if you're part of that team, it's just what you do. And you've got all the high schools and all the junior high schools, and you have all the other people that don't play contact sports, and they don't want to, and they want to play golf, and there's nowhere for them to go. You can make some of the money back if you think about the number of kids that play golf over the years in all the high schools, and you remember, you can host tournaments, right? You can have the games like they do for soccer games and football games, and people charge admission. You do the same thing. It may not be millions, but over time, you'll get it, if it's destination, you'll get people who come here on vacation that want to stay at that hotel, that want to eat in that restaurant, that want to play golf, they have someplace for their kids or their grandkids to stay. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Adam, and I'm so sorry, it's Beighby?
Thank you. Adam Beakley, 2768 Northwest 28th Road. I think there's an either-or proposition that's been put out here. I think we could have world-class great golf course that would be a destination and not spend the volume of money that seems to be dedicated to it. And, I was reading some of the old articles, and Mr. Kosky was quoted, and some of you were quoted about how many different golf course designers were interested. There were names like Reese Jones, and I don't expect you to answer. What happened to all those guys? What happened to those bids? I've never heard about another bid. I've never heard about an $8 million bid or a $9 million bid. I've only heard about the 28 that turned into 19. And I feel like there's an opportunity for you to maybe go back, re-engage some of those other designers and get us a number, because we're hearing all these folks saying, oh, I've looked into it and the numbers seem to be between 9 and 12, 9 and 12. I've looked into it too. That seems to be a number. And we're not talking about a piece of farmland that needs to be sand put down and all the things. The things basically, the foundation's there. So it just seems to be an opportunity to get it all. And, I don't come to a lot of these meetings. I've read up on it. And I think the perception is that you guys went Price Fazio and just followed that line and didn't break out into other options. So, as a resident and as someone who cares, it's just a suggestion. Again, don't know if you've been there already, but the perception's everything. And right now, the perception's not good. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Jeremy Rogers.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Jeremy Rogers, 4255 Northwest 26th Avenue. I am Deputy Mayor of the City of Boca, but I'm certainly speaking on my own behalf today as a taxpayer who is absolutely opposed to this millage increase tonight. Hope you vote against it. I know you guys have a thankless job, Madam Chair, Commissioners. We talk a lot, and it certainly is thankless. Thanks to everyone who came out today, and everyone's voice is important. But I really want to consider the many people that we're all elected to represent. We heard from many people last week from all parts of the city that are against this tax increase, without any doubt. And more importantly, if you talk to many of the people in the city right now, they still have no idea that there's a 19.34%, almost 20% tax increase, 15% millage rate that's being discussed. And every single one who I've spoken to has been shocked, whether it's been large businesses, small businesses, or individual residents. No one knows this is going on unless you live in the Boca Chica neighborhood or you happen to get a call that I put out and paid for out of my pocket or an email. Most people don't know we're here discussing this. And when we're talking about a raise this significant in taxes and a millage rate, I think it's really important to get that word out. So I could just say for the average resident that doesn't live right around this, they are very opposed to this tax increase. And I want to talk about all those people that were here represented. The city of Boca prides itself on a low tax rate. We have over half the corporations in Palm Beach County here in Boca. We need to keep that tax rate low. That's what keeps our values high. That's what keeps all of our values high. And our values for land have never been higher, whether it's in the city. You guys represent more people than we do. We're slightly outside of the city and the rest of the district. We've got a larger tax base than we've ever had. We need to spend those dollars responsibly. We have a lot of them. I think we could get this done without that. No one, the false dichotomy is that if we don't do this tax millage increase, we're not going to have a beautiful golf course. You can have a beautiful golf course. No one is arguing about that. We've seen consultants, many responses to an RFI from some really big names. Names that have been on the front of golf magazines that have said we could do this for a fraction of what we're talking about. I know we're not here to talk about golf. We're here to talk about a millage increase, but I want to go back to, if we didn't spend $24 million on the land, and we talked about entitlements last week, hopefully you got the letter from the city, those entitlements were absolutely expired. The city's passed resolution 5-0, golf in Boca. Those entitlements weren't coming back. We've seen a good amount of money go to the design already, and we're talking about a very expensive design and building. So I would just urge you, please please, 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 do not adopt a millage increase. I think we can work together with the, even with the millage increase, I think you guys are gonna have a problem getting it done at the price you're going to. I hope we can do this affordably and a good golf course with a clubhouse and all in the city of Boca without a millage increase. Thank you.
Al Travassos. You're passing? Okay. Jim Tingler.
Hi, my name is Jim Tingler, and I've been a resident of the city of Boca Raton since 1981. 20 plus years ago, I was a skater on the streets of Boca with nowhere to go. And me and my friends, we organized, we got together, and we submitted petitions to the city. We went around our schools, and we said, you know what, we need somewhere to go. And we submitted those petitions to the city, and the city built this skate park. It took a few years, it took a lot of hard work, a lot of committee meetings and a lot of headaches, but now that city is, that skate park is here. And that shows me that this city cares about its young people. We have a long-standing tradition in this city of caring about the young people. And, you know, that's important to me. I played Ocean Breezes with my son. I've taken my daughter there to putt around and to go to the driving range. And, you know, we enjoy the golf course. No one is opposed to the golf course being remodeled, being upgraded, being renovated, but it shouldn't cost anywhere near the cost that we've heard tonight. It's just obscene to think that you're going to spend $20+ million on a property you've already overspent on to purchase the land. And I think if you do that, if you do spend this kind of money, you're not going to have enough bandwidth or enough capital to focus on what's important to the next generation. My kids, my son and my daughter, are both part of First Lego League Robotics Club. And this club, right now, there's 50,000 different teams across the world that are looking into how do we make our parks more accessible to people young and old. And how do we improve our city, right? And that's something that is happening and bubbling up. And if you spend all of your time and effort on building this golf course and wasting too much money on it, you're not going to have the bandwidth or the money to hear the new ideas that are coming from the next generation. So I would encourage you all to vote against a millage increase tonight, or to not adopt this millage increase, because if you do, myself and many of the people in this room and a lot of the people in this city that aren't aware of this meeting even happening are going to vote you out of office. And I'm going to be here for a long time. And I'm going to organize like I did when I was 14 years old, and I will work to get you out of office if you vote to increase the taxes for me and for my kids. Thank you.
Gabriel Banfi.
Gabriel Banfi, 2121 North Ocean Boulevard. Thank you, Madam Chairman and Commissioners, for allowing me to express my views on this matter. I am not an architect of golf courses, nor an investment in real estate properties. But I'm a resident that enjoys every day the beauty of Boca Raton, the parks that you manage, and the greenery, the beach, and everything here. And I, on the outset, would like to ask you to reach an agreement, a reasonable agreement, to develop this land into a quality golf course, not a mediocre one, because that wouldn't fit in Boca Raton. It has to be a quality golf course. Now, I want to use sentence read my lips. I don't want to make it a religion, but everything grows. Development, population, costs, and taxes will have to grow one time or another. The important thing, and I don't know anyone in the audience who work the numbers, what an increase in the millage of the district impacts the total taxes that we pay. I received a bill from the county, which includes the city, the district, and county needs. And I understand that the lion's share is education, which I'm for. I like to pay for good education through my taxes. But also I want to pay something for good parks. And you have done a beautiful job. And I want to remind you, between 1992 and 1994, I was one of the few left that worked for 2 years to get you, and Commissioner Rollins was there, to get Ocean Strand for something in between the $12 billion that was paid for the property, plus the service of the deck. And now I see in the new local newspaper, a developer offered $67.6 million for that property that was acquired for less than $20 million, including the service of the deck. Investment in good things pay off for the future, for the ones that will follow us. Don't forget them.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Bruce, I'm gonna mess up your last name again.
That's okay, Bruce Verstanden.
Thank you, Bruce.
Bruce Diller Verstanden, 140 Southeast Fifth Avenue, Boca Raton. So first of all,
I'd like to quote Yogi Berra. This is deja vu all over again. You hold a public meeting in a room that doesn't have enough seats for everybody that wants to be here. Is that by design? Because it certainly seems that way to somebody like myself. Okay, now I hear people talking about visions and your vision. I'd like to ask you a question. You bought Ocean Strand, as a gentleman just said before, in 1994. What have you done with Ocean Strand, except for put a fence up that says no trespassing? Okay, now we're going to get to a word called financial prudence. And perhaps the Park District needs to look that up on Google, because I don't think you guys know what financial prudence is. How much did you spend in June to have an appraisal done of Ocean Strand so that you could go to the city and say, we have a developer willing to buy it from us, and we're going to hold you hostage unless you give us money? That's financial prudence, spending money to hold the city hostage? Nah, financial prudence. Is this financial prudence to overpay $14 million for the property? That's not financial prudence. Is it financial prudence for you guys to say that it's going to cost $10 to $14 million to rebuild the golf course and put a nice golf course there after you spent $24 million on it, and then you come back with $28 million? That's not financial prudence. So my suggestion is, Google the word financial prudence and learn that people want to speak, and there's a reason people want to speak and go, stop raising the taxes for your field of dreams that you guys set out $52 million for a golf course? Financial prudence? You're not going to find that in Google. Thank you very much.
Saeed Hussein.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you guys remember me. I was part of the Luna project I presented to your to the committee about a few months ago. I'm here today to kind of speak about the golf course and tax increase. I'm on the sustainability board for the city of Boca, city council committees. I study environmental engineering, and I believe in a sustainable approach. And sustainability also includes not spending so much tax dollars onto a golf course. I know you guys have a lot of other projects that you want to focus on, But the reason that the golf course is so focused is a failure of reaching out to the community and reaching out to the interest groups that would be associated to this. If you care about the other projects that you do, why is the golf course getting so much attention? And I do believe that I didn't know about this until very recently. It's a failure to the public interest. I do believe that it should be given to the city council because we have many committees that would be interested. People like me who serve on it. We'll have public interest, public input, and a lot more people, not just a panel of you, that will make the decisions. It'll be a lot more interest, and I do believe that if we want everybody in Boca involved, more parties should be invested into the project. It shouldn't be a one decision, one final moment. You know, you are representatives of the people, and as a representative of me, and representative of everybody in this room, the best thing to do is to get everybody involved rather than just make the decision by yourself, or else that guy is going to vote you out.
Not just him.
Okay, Jim Abernathy? Jim Abernathy?
How many people are outside that can't get in?
I don't know.
Good question, yes.
Right here. Okay, we'll put him, Mark Jacobson? Mark Jacobson? Michelle Peel? Jay Slab?
Shack.
Shaq, I'm sorry.
Do you mind if I speak to him up here? I don't think it's a microphone.
Fellow taxpayers, board members, I've been a resident of this town for 17, 18 years. I live on Dixie Highway directly across from the Boca Chica golf course, so I'm comfortable with the neighborhood. I know where everything is up there, and I agree with many of your speakers, the neighborhood is dead. Now, I want to thank the board members for serving. I grew up in a small town where we didn't have paid services. I volunteered as a fireman, on the board of appeals, and since I've been in this town, I volunteered for the fire department, done bowling ball, and many other charities. So I know what it's like to give back. The community mind here is people of affluence have money to spend on people's taxes, all right? I, as a homeowner on disability, cannot afford a tax increase to support $1 million, you bought a golf course that was a pig in a poke. You paid too much for it. Now I'm finding out that you won't give control to the city, but I'm wondering why is the city selling a golf course for $67 million and you're asking us to raise taxes to cover the cost of rebuilding this course? If the city wants control of this course and is willing to use that money from the other golf course, give them control rights. Please, do the right thing. And then maybe I'll vote for you come next election. But right now, nobody has my vote. Thank you.
David Ritter? David Ritter? Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Ritter. I live in Broken Sound. I've been here since '85. I don't play golf, but I appreciate golf. My dad loved golf, and too bad I didn't play golf. I can go to all the parks. I can go to the beaches, and they're beautiful. You've done a great job on all of them since all the changes that have happened since I came. But I'm not going to play golf, and I hope money isn't spent. Money will be spent. It needs to be fixed. I understand that, but I understand that it has to be a lot more than just wait, don't raise the taxes, or do it much more cheaply. But do it the right way. I agree with the people that say that it's got to be done right. And I know it's important for Boca Chica. It's important for Boca Chica particularly. It reminds me, this is my first beach meeting I've been to, parks. We went to the city council meeting last week for the first time because of Brightline. And I realized that the big concern of most of the people there live in Library Commons, which are perhaps 1% or less of the people in the city, but the rest of us want a train station. It reminds me of that. It's not related, but anyways, thank you for your work.
Thank you. Roy Jones?
Yeah, this is my first time at one of these meetings, but I live at 6100 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Roy Jones, I'm president of Boca Chica Condo 8. Yes, the golf course is very important to us, for obvious reasons. We live on it. Do I play golf? No. Unless there's a windmill at the end of it, you won't see me. But I will tell you this, there is nothing east of that part of town is a dead zone. This golf course, once it's built, will bring people to that side of town and redevelop it. It needs to be done the right way. Do I think the taxes should go up? Nobody wants taxes to go up. But it does need to be the state-of-the-art Boca National Golf Course it was planned to be. It should be a learning course, just like the woman said. It will bring children, and with a hotel, people will come. And that side of town will then be redeveloped. That's it.
Marge Lafont. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Marge at 509 Northwest 55th Terrace. Okay. Marvin Geiger. Rick Hurd.
Thank you, commissioners and fellow taxpayers. I'm Rick Hurd, 285 Northeast Spanish Court. I'm a PGA golf professional with the Don Law Golf Academy, and I ran the academy at Ocean Breeze for 7 years. Instead of watching the NFL and golf yesterday, I spent 3 hours watching back videos of the joint meetings between the city and the council. That was a lot of fun. But I have some comments that come out of that. First, in the district, you have a wonderful vision and a great master plan for this facility, and you've done a pretty horrible job in communicating that plan and its cost, leading us to where we are. There's been a lack of focus and direction on key elements, including the tunnel, the cost, the funding, the hotel, etc. And I know there are some city council members here. For the city, you have tremendous resources and talent to assist with a major project like this, but you have a lack of buy-in on the vision. It's a great vision, and you have a singular focus on the apparent reduction of cost at the expense of quality. We golfers are trained to forget about our bogeys and put our best effort into the next shot. The district's plan will be a model for cities everywhere on how to design a municipal golf facility the correct way. My professional opinion is you won't find a better plan for this challenging property. It will be world-class when it's all done. It's time for all the commissioners and all the council members to understand the plan and accept it as it is. And we need to get conceptual buy-in, first at the 20,000-foot level, and then work our way down. The city, you've said you don't like the cost. No one does. Last week, I worked as an intermediary between Director Harms, Price Fazio, Commissioner Wright, and Councilman Thompson. And I formulated with them a streamlined plan to deliver all the key elements of the $28 million Price Fazio vision for $15 million. I had not shared that until now, waiting to ensure that Price Fazio agreed that it could work. Well, it can. And it looks roughly like this. $6 million for the golf course, $6 million for critical infrastructure, $1.5 million for the short course, and $1.5 million for the driving range. Price Fazio's design is a great plan. The cost now meets any reasonable challenge, including figures quoted by the National Golf Foundation and THK. It's time for you to forget your bogeys and come together on behalf of us taxpayers, and let's get this project going. District, you need to settle on the details of the plan and present a united and consistent voice to the city. City, you can agree on the conceptual plan now. You have the power to expedite this project. You can tackle infrastructure items like the tunnel, and you can commit financial assistance based on the future sale of Boca Muni and help avoid the proposed tax increase. I understand that most of you are probably not familiar with the streamlined plan that I just quoted. I'll be happy to answer questions now, or I'll present it next week at the district meeting.
Thank you.
My name's Mark Jacobson, 2500 Northwest 49th Street, Boca Raton. I've lived here for 20 some odd years, and one of the reasons I did move to Boca Raton was because of the parks and because of the school. However, I do agree that we need a golf course in the northeast section of the city. I think it's a wonderful place to have it. We do need some development in that area for the Boca Chica community. I'm just really sorry that we actually paid $24 million for a piece of property. And I'm extremely disappointed that we want to spend another $28 million to fix it. I'm a landscape architect. I deal with developers all the time. I understand the value of money. I just think we need to spend it wisely. The Beach and Park System Board has done a wonderful job with all the parks that they've done for the city. I just think the golf course needs to go back to the city and let them develop it. Thank you.
I see we've had some newcomers. Would anyone else like to come to the podium or take the microphone?
I'll start right here and work my way.
My name is Harold Chaffee. I'm the president of Keep Golf in Boca. We started this project about 4 years ago with the city, with Mayor Haney. And it was basically just to save green space. And then Mayor Haney had a great idea about selling the property out west of the golf course. And in the beginning, there was a process of basically swapping the two golf courses. It was $10 million and Ocean Breeze for the Muni. And then the price went crazy. It went to $28 million, $42 million, $72 million. It was unbelievable. So there was no recourse to back up. And the reason why Mayor Haney basically wanted to sell this piece of property because it was losing quite a bit of money every year, even though she put a lot of money into it. So she made the statement at that point when we had the meeting that she would never own another golf course in the city of Boca because it's not profitable. Golf courses can be made profitable, okay? It's all according to what you put into it and how sustainable you make it, okay? I think that the Beach and Parks, what they wanted to do is basically make a golf course that's sustainable. Sustainable means basically concrete buildings, not a metal 2x4 setup, 4x4s holding up. They want things that basically will last at least 20 years, 30 years before they have to be maintained, because maintenance is a very big issue, okay? And everything costs money. The north end of town does need something, because everything seems to be in Midtown, which is basically around my percent. That's where everybody focuses all the money, all the projects, the golf station, the new town center, or they're going to build the Taj Mahal, whatever they're going to do. I want to commend the Beach and Parks, basically all the projects that they have done. We wouldn't be in this building. We wouldn't have Sugar Sand Park. We wouldn't have Holmby Park. We wouldn't have most of the things that we see in the city that you don't get any credit for. And everybody knows, nobody wants taxes raised, but you have $83 billion worth of assets. Anyone knows that basically over a period of time, all the property and all the land that you own, you have to maintain. Everything gets old and has to be replaced. So from time to time, you have to raise the millage rate in order to pay for these objects. If not, the cost of living increases, everything increases except you. So you need to basically raise the millage rate. That's not the biggest question here. Okay, the question basically seems to be what everybody wants to talk about is the golf course. The golf course, basically, we need a golf course. Okay, we can't let that elapse. It's like a melting point for everyone in town. Colleges, basically kids graduate, entrepreneurs. What do you get to keep them here? Right? You don't have anything really offer except parks. They don't understand parks. They don't want to bring their clients to parks. They want to bring them to a golf course. 90% of things, contracts debated on a golf course and signed and delivered. The golf course basically needs to be. I mean, I think that, and also the golf course has to be.
Thank you, Mr. Chaffee.
Profitable.
Thank you. Arthur Bernstein, 4845 Hunters Way in the city of Boca. I've been a resident for 31 years and avid user of the parks, which is superb. Been to a number of district meetings, the advocate, and also to criticize some items, but the parks as a whole are really outstanding. But I want to mention two items purely from a financial perspective, and that's my background. One, I think anytime you advertise the cost of a bond issue, I think it's important to state total debt service. So whether it's a $24 or $25 million bond, you have to pay interest. We all know that. So I think there should be what I'll call more truth in advertising. You know, what are the total dollars necessary to pay back any bond issue? I think that's very important. And I haven't seen that mentioned in any of, certainly any of the press releases or reporting or any mailings or anything from the district. So I think total dollars to be spent become very important. Second, anytime there's been a bond issue in the city that I'm familiar with, I believe there's been a referendum. Now I understand this is going to be a revenue bond, which I'm not a lawyer, but doesn't require a referendum. I think in terms of full disclosure and openness with the community, if you do intend to go with a bond, then do it as a general obligation bond so that the community as a whole can vote on it. Third item, which I wasn't planning to mention tonight, but it came up as a result of a comment I just heard. I always am dubious about any project where someone says they're going to build it for $28 million, and then when faced with the possibility that it may not happen, shows up and says, well, we can do it for $15 million. And maybe that's the case. And again, that may be the way to go. So I'm not a golf course expert. My time in the years in these parks has been spent more in baseball, softball, and basketball, and rollerblading. But let's maybe go out for further bids with a project that has certain limitations on it, and have the developers work within those limitations. But again, to go from 28 to 15 miraculously during the course of a meeting, maybe it works, but I don't think you should vote for a tax increase based upon that possibility. Let's get all the facts and then go for a bond issue with a vote of the public.
Thank you, Mr. Bernstein.
Sure thing. Hi, my name is Julie Vianelli. I live at 4501 Northwest 26th Avenue in the Colonnade in Boca Raton, and I don't golf. But I am a big fan of all the parks. I've been to the golf courses. They're beautiful. These are the first hearings I've attended. They've been fascinating. I'll be attending in the future. This has been very interesting, and I'm glad I got the email from Jeremy inviting me to come, because this is the kind of civic involvement that is so important, and I'm really glad I'm doing it finally after 20 years. It's good.
Welcome.
But here's my problem. After all that, my comments are short. Everyone who has a household or a business or anything else has a budget for a project before they start it. And it feels to me like you didn't have that for the golf course. You overspent for the land. Now you're proposing to spend beyond your means, really, for the course, and raising the taxes to afford that. And that troubles me as a taxpayer. This is a budget for what you're going to do next year, but I don't get any sense that there was ever a budget for the project as it developed, that you just said, that sounds good, yeah, let's do that sounds good, and now we're told that it can be brought in for 15 million instead of 28, which is, again, as Mr. Bernstein said, very troubling. So it seems to me that you can't raise the taxes now. There is just too much unknown about how little you can spend instead of how much. And that's what you should be focusing on. Make a beautiful golf course, but don't overspend for it. I don't do it in my home. I don't do it in my business. I don't want you doing it in our city. That's it. Thank you.
Johnson, 290 West Palmetto. I've done some reading, and I don't see it in your authority to own a golf course or even this park. It seems like the legislature's intent at the time was to give public access to the beach and to the intercoastal, boat access, recreation in that sense. If there's any way that the tax money could be given back or reset this would be great, because it's the people's property. They bought it at the time. They're aware of all the duties needed to maintain a property. It's private property. Apparently, they couldn't maintain the golf course. The place was built in the 70s, and already they had problems in the late 90s. People there aren't playing. I understand government picks up a lost leader, but someone pitched this to these two boards, and that land is awfully cheap per acre. Those people should just develop it if they can't maintain it and get the deed unrestricted.
Brian Stenberg, 1026 Southwest 5th Street. I would recommend that you keep the district millage rate flat. I like the chart that you have up there. One thing to keep in mind is that future boards that sit up there are going to have to raise the millage rate once real estate values drop due to a recession, which eventually will happen. It's part of the reason it appears that it went up so high after 2010. So I would recommend that you keep it flat.
Thanks, Larry. My name is Jim Bonney, 4192 Woods End Road, and I hate spending money. And unfortunately, well, that's why I bought a place in Boca Chica, because it was cheap. And I don't really, want to live there anymore. So my, challenge to you is make me want to live in Boca Chica again, please. The other thing was, the reason why I moved to Boca Chica was my cousin. They lived here for many years, and they know I love the golf, so I did move to Boca Chica for the golf course, and it was a shame to see what happened to it. So I really would love to see a world-class place there. And the last thing I'll say is that it was great to have two golf courses in Boca. I used to play Boca Muni, continue to play there while it's there, and Ocean Breeze in its various incarnations. So I would think that we have two golf courses. If we go down to one, it should be nice. And of course, we should get the best deal we can. So again, maybe you want to live in Boca Chica again. I would really love that.
Brianne, there's a gentleman down here who's been very patient.
Hi, Andrew Dixon, 299 Northwest 64th Street. I've been to probably a handful of these meetings now. Well, first of all, I think Boca, I don't think it's a low-tax city. I build single-family homes, and I have multiple projects going on in Delray, and just like my base rate right there is probably like $56, whereas I bought my house and it was vacant for like 3 months, and I thought I had a water leak because my bill was over $100. So when you go look at the bill, you're paying for like fire department and all these like random charges, which seems like a very high tax to me. But I will say I really like the plans that you have for the golf course. I think $28 million seems like a very high number, and it seems like you're trying to fit a square peg through a round hole. And I think maybe instead of, I think you need to exhaust more of your resources before you go to the millage increase. Like, the city who's ultimately your lender on the project, they want you to lower the price. And I think once you go back and if you can get a $15 million number, the email I got from Scott Singer said he wants a $15 million number. So if you bring him a number that he wants and he doesn't approve it, then you tell him to go pound sand and you increase the millage rate, you know? Because then you've exhausted all your political resources and, you know, like I said, I want this golf course, and if he ultimately just wants to be an asshole to you guys and not approve it, and it's like his way or the highway, then I won't vote for him when he runs for mayor next election cycle. So I think you guys still have a little bit of work to do, and if you can bring that number down from 28 to 15, then there's got to be some number. You should get a number from Scott Singer as well, like, if we get 15, what's the number you're going to give us for the golf course? And then figure out a way to bridge the gap, you know? It seems like a logical way to do it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ryan Ryder, 101 East Camino Real, Boca Raton, Florida. I love construction, I love development, and I love responsible growth. And I really don't feel that this is a responsible thing for this board to do with so much hair on this project. We have a year, come back next year. If you can't come to terms on this project, come back next year with the city, maybe hand in hand. If you need to increase the millage rate next year, great. I don't think this is the time to do it. You have the resources available at the city if you want to do it ASAP, and they've told you how they want to do it. But increasing the millage rate this irresponsibly is not the way to do it. There are large property owners who stand to spend $300,000 to $500,000. I won't name them by name. $300,000 to $500,000 with this increase, and these are large property owners here in the city of Boca Raton. We're talking about jobs. I understand that's not your charge here in this dais. You're here for the parks, but we're talking about Boca Raton residents. And I'd urge you to just be more responsible about this. Sleep on it. You don't have to do it tonight. You can do it next year. You don't have to do it tonight. Responsible growth.
Thank you.
Donna Casmo, 6300 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Boca Chica, Vice President of Keep Golf in Boca. I have over 1,000 signatures signed for me to, us as Keep Golf in Boca, to say that we are in favor of the millage rate being raised. So that is 1,000 people, more than what's here. So that's a good news. The other thing that I want to talk about is how the city has done this amazing thing. When we started working on the golf, the wildflower was a topic that we used to sit for an hour waiting for our turn to come up to talk about golf. Well, we talked about the property that they eventually converted over and rezoned to be a park. And it's a beautiful idea that they came up with. They spent $500,000 to do a design, which they approved in January of 2019. They put aside $8,500,000 to do the construction. And that's 2.3 acres of land. Now we have 200 some acres of land. So when you do the math, us looking for 15 million to do 200 acres into a golf course, for what we're gonna have down at the park is a grass. We're gonna have a walkway to walk along the beach, the intercoastal, and we're gonna have some other things that they're thinking about putting there. So I think that they have established that prices are a little higher today than maybe they were years back. And that we want quality items, and they're proving that quality is what they want as well. That's why they've spent as as much money as I have to put this together so that the intercoastal walkway there, which is only almost 3 acres, will be gorgeous. So I think that we could just, model off of their benchmark and realize that, they probably can throw a whole lot more money than that and still be in what we would consider reasonable for what a park should be receiving in terms of money. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Anyone else?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I live in Norton. I'd love to see this.
Could we have your name and speak into the microphone, please?
Okay. What I don't understand is
Your name,
first
please?
the buildings are torn down.
Your name, please?
Patricia Simon. You've torn down the building. The land was originally appraised for 12 million. You paid 24, and now we're being held hostage with a piece of property you pay to have mowed. You mow the dirt monthly or bi-weekly or whatever, and we're subject to this. Now, didn't you, as individuals who were elected, not consider all of these facts before you started anything? Started destroying buildings, whatever. What's this with an under walkway? Who cares? Please, think like adults. Thank you.
Mr. Henry?
Yes, thank you, got my card. Gregory Henry, 771 West Camino Real, here in Boca, just about a mile east of here. We've been residents here for 28 years. My parents retired here in 1972. So we have a long history in our family of how wonderful Boca Raton is. Hats off to the Beach Park District, hats off to the city for making this one of the best cities in the country to live in. Now, what we're talking about here, somebody mentions financial prudence. And so far we have a $12 million land or whatever for 24 million. So that's double. So that's my first question, questioning your financial prowess. Then we have the golf course that should be 8 million, 10 million, 12 million for the 24. So that's 3 times as much. That's strike 2, folks. At that point I start to say, wait a minute, let's not go any further. Now I hear they had a renegotiation with this Fazio people, but not Nick Fazio, the nephew of Fazio, and it comes up with $9 million less. Okay, has anybody dealt with developers here? When they start cutting prices like that, you know what that means? Shortcut here, shortcut there, shortcut there. Your world quality is like real estate speak for nearby, ocean nearby. Yeah, walk 3 miles and you'll get to the ocean nearby. So somebody mentioned the developer initiative. Somebody mentioned other places. I would suggest, okay, the city, with all due respect, committee, council members, commissioners rather, I'm sorry. With all due respect, get the city to review new bids to start from scratch. We spent the money for the land. Okay, that's what I know with the bridge. We can't do anything about that. But for the future, let's not go 24 to 15 just because a meeting said, okay, well, got the price for it. They should have done that before. So now I don't trust them anymore. Fazio would go out the window, and let's start from scratch with a new group, a new developer, see where we go. Thank you very much, but I appreciate all your hard work, and thank you again from the city of Boca for all you do.
Thank you, Mr. Henry.
Thank you. My name is Brian Schneer, 3093 Northwest 30th Way in Boca. I grew up here, my family moved here in 1981. I am an evil developer by profession. I build shopping centers. I think we've done it responsibly in the city. It's water under the bridge. We overpaid for the land. We paid the as-if rezoned property value. That's done. The big fear I have is, right, I develop stuff, nothing stays on budget, nothing gets done on time. That means it costs more money. Golf has not had a great track record recently. Golf courses are closing. Maybe we'll figure out how to have the model where we can stimulate enough participants and achieve the revenue, whether it's city operated or leased to a third party. If they don't perform, if your revenue projections are wrong, then what happens? This bond gets paid back over some duration of time out of millage rates. If there's not enough revenue, then there isn't going to be enough debt service or to cover the overhead and the operating expenses. That's why golf courses are closing. That's why this one closed in the first place. So I think the key here, there's a business plan besides, this is an operating business running a golf course. And if the business plan is wrong, the taxpayers, everyone in this room is left holding the bag. And it could be what's on the board, and it could be a lot worse in the future if you're wrong. I can't predict the future, but that's a very difficult bet to make. That's what developers do, and hopefully we get it right most of the time. But this is a huge investment by the city that is already way over the initial estimates for cost, and it doesn't, we talked about turning 24 into 15. That's a change in scope in the project. So therefore, if you change the scope and you build the 15, can you still achieve the revenue that you had when you were 24? Right? It's like changing the flag. If you were a Ritz-Carlton and you're now a Holiday Inn, are you going to get the same rate per door? Probably not. Doesn't mean the golf course is a bad idea. I just think the issue of how you're going to fund it and finance it is totally different. This is the taxpayers. It's not a bank. It's not an equity partner. That if you were dealing with a bank or an institutional equity partner, this would not have been financed. This is a different animal, and it's a public service to have a golf course. I get that, but I think you have to have a complete financial model, both for the initial development and the ongoing operations, because you are not only the developer, you are the long-term landlord and the owner and operator of this course going into the future.
Hi, my name is Bob Ziegler, 5162 Majorca Club Drive, Boca Raton, Florida. I spoke on Wednesday. I'll have 1 or 2 comments now as well. I think it's a shame, certainly, that we focused almost 2 hours or an hour and a half on talking about the golf course instead of a lot of the other projects that you're responsible for, like Gumbo, Limbo, etc. There's a common theme here, certainly that was mentioned. Overpayment for the land, overpayment for the development of the golf course. Technically, we should take it away from you, and we should be partnering with the city. The city should be taking care of this going forward. And it does bother me that you're up there, city council members are on the side, or maybe some in the back as well. I just feel there's a wall between you. And I think that the last meeting ended very, very well with Craig Ernst, suggesting a few other options, and I think those options should be considered here. There should be no millage increase whatsoever. I think that you just should be acting fiscally responsible. To this point, certainly, you have not with the purchase and the proposed redoing of it. There are other bids being gathered that will give you a much better price to do this. My suggestion to you is give up and give it back to the city.
Would anyone else like to speak?
Thank you. My name is Tom Lambert. I live at 5201 Northwest 2nd Avenue in Boca Chica. Currently, I'm the president of the Boca Men's Golf Club, consisting of about 45 members. We're right now based at the Boca Municipal Golf Course, which is being pulled out from under us, and we need a golf course to play at. Not only for our personal uses, but every community needs to have a municipal golf course people can go and play golf at a reasonable cost without $10,000 membership fees and that sort of thing. And as far as Boca Chica Golf Course failed because it was not maintained properly and it went to seed. People just refused to play there because of the condition of the golf course. I know that the Parks and Recreation, looking at the parks that you have, they're well kept up, they're well attended because they're maintained well. And what we need is a golf course that is good enough quality for people who want to play there and maintained to the degree that they get great enjoyment out of it for their money. And the city has sold the golf course for $67 million. It is reasonable to expect the city to pony up about, let's say, $20 million to get this golf course built to the current Price Fazio layout. The layout has been examined by many people and considered to be an excellent use of the land available. So if we can get money from the city, the money they got for the golf course, it's possible that the village rate will not have to be increased at all. But in the other ways, looking at all the parks you currently have, certainly they were built with taxpayer money to begin with. And in this case, another park might be reasonable to expect taxes to support that too. I have nothing more to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Brianne, there's someone behind you.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Siegler, and I live at 300 Northeast 5th Street. I've been in Boca Raton for 22 years. The parks are beautiful and amazing. If I am allowed, I would like to speak of something other than the golf course. Is that allowed at this meeting? The parks? Okay, thank you. Lake Wyman is a beautiful park. There used to be kayaking. Will the waters be restored for future kayaking? And also there was a boardwalk that you would be able to walk through, which has been closed. So will that be fixed? Is that in the budget? Is that a plan for the future? And if so, when?
That's
My
a
second
city
que-
park, Suzanne. That is not a Region Park District park.
Okay. And Fifth Avenue at Palmetto Park Road, is that your project as well? No? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Yes.
Anyone else? Councilman Thompson, thank you.
Hi, I'm Andy Thompson, member of the City Council. Back in February, let's go to the front. Back in February, the Beach Park District came to us with a plan to build a $28 million golf course, and they wanted the city to participate. They asked us to donate $20 million towards this construction for the Price Fazio design, the design that they chose after a long process, I admit. And from the beginning, my colleagues and I said, golf course, we absolutely have your back. We want to have a golf course in Boca Chica. We want it to be a first-class golf course in Boca Chica. We commit to having a quality golf course and to keep golf in Boca. However, we said, $20 million seems a little high. And I said, I think that there are other models, other golf course models that can provide a quality golf course for far less. And I was laughed at. I was told, no. $28 million is the only price that could get us a good, quality, first-class golf course at this location. $28 million was the price. But I kept at it. My colleagues and I kept at it. And we said, fair enough, I'm no expert. I'm not a golf course architect. So let's bring in architects that know what they're talking about. They came in, and 16 of them said that they could build a quality golf course in this facility for approximately $20 million less than what was talked about. That's not to say that my personal opinion was to limit the cost of this course to $8 million. Never once did I say that. I just wanted to establish that a good course could be built for far less. We had an independent expert who came in who said, if you spend more than $15 million on a golf course here, you're throwing each additional dollar over the ledge because you get no more bang for your buck beyond that point. A separate expert said for the folks in Boca Chica, your property values will go up with any kind of golf course that gets built here. But it won't go up any higher if you spend $28 million versus 15. The city wants to have a high-quality golf course here. You have my word that the city is going to build a high-quality golf course here. All we're saying is we don't need to spend $28 million, or $25 million, or $20 million. So rather than just staying on two sides and saying we're here and you're there and there's no way in between, the city offered. We made an offer to the district where we said, if you make reasonable concessions on the golf course and allow us to help build part of it, we will help finance all of the other obligations that the district has. Chief among them, Gumbo Limbo, maintenance facilities, repaving tennis courts. We will help finance those things for you to do, and we can, best part is, folks, we can do them all right now. All of the trees are right now. But we're here at a budget hearing. The question is whether or not we should raise taxes.
So you say you're not going to do that if they don't vote for the golf course? It is obvious, it is really obvious from the last meeting.
Could we have some order,
that the
please?
city wants to pay
Order, please.
This is double talk. Now,
Sir,
in the new-
Sir, Councilman Thompson has the floor.
His time is up.
Everybody else got 3 minutes. Why you let them
There's just one last sentence that I wanted to say. The question, this is a budget hearing. The question is, do we raise taxes or do we don't? There is a better way. The answer should be no. Work with the city on this. We can do it together. Everybody wins in that situation.
There's already a golf course there, so why why not just...
Sir, you had your moment. You had your 3 minutes. Would anyone else like to speak?
Hey, Barry. Yield your 3 minutes. Can you yield your 3 minutes?
You've already had your 3 minutes. I don't see any more hands, so I'm going to close public requests at this time. Commissioners, we're going to read our resolution unless you would like to weigh in on with some comments. Mr. Rollins?
First of all, thanks to everyone who showed up this evening and expressed their opinion about our budget and related matters. It's not an easy spot to be sitting in front of your friends and neighbors talking about a tax increase, especially when there's so many untruths about the process and the project. And I think Councilman Thompson should have been is a pretty good salesman. If we had been able to reach an agreement with the city, we would have done so by now. And the project that we spent so much time on with Price Fazio, and Nick Price is one of the top golfers in the country, and yes, we were aware that his son was involved with the project. In fact, he's probably the one that sold the project because of his enthusiasm and his work experience. The agreement that we had with the city was merely to approve a concept. And we presented a concept, and there was probably some opportunity we had to value engineer the project before we presented numbers to the city. I think the 28 million, the 24 million, the 19 million, Councilman Thompson is correct about the RFIs and being able to build the course for fewer dollars. The golf course architect that we had compared their product and their RFIs. We had a spreadsheet looking at all the RFIs, and the architects for Price Fazio were right there in the middle when the actual costs were generated. So that project was quoted at just the west side of the course. It didn't include the east side, where we're talking about a learning center, a family putting area, a short course, which we added value to the course. And I don't think they included the cost of a tunnel. It was a very expensive tunnel to ensure the safety of the golfers traversing from the east side to the west side. The fact that we have other projects on the horizon, and it's been mentioned here earlier about opening up Ocean Strand, and I'm speaking as much to the commissioners as I am to you, the audience. We want to open up Ocean Strand. The city did a waterfront master plan, but using an EDSA, and had some nice things to put out there on the project, but when we looked at the cost, it was considerably more than what we had thought about spending for our beachside property. I believe that park could be opened up to the public, and I think that we've discussed that opportunity to do that in the very near future. Other projects we were just casually mentioning, we're looking at a needs assessment, but we already know that the community has been asking us for another field house to, like we have right next door, field house at Patch Reef. We have tennis courts at Patch Reef that are in need of repair, as well as over at Swimming Racket, the project we just finished. And that project for the tennis courts at Patch Reef and at Swimming Racket are probably close to $1.5 million. There's a number of CIP capital improvement projects that the city wants us to participate in. A storage facility for equipment and employees to work at the Spanish River Beach. At the Hornley, another project, that one I think is $5 million. The one over at Spanish River was $7 million. We have a lot of projects, including not the least of which is Gumbo Limbo. We've looked at and explored ways to keep our millage down. If we go to our current rate and not have a rate increase, we're going to be limited to what we're going to be able to do in the very near future. I hear what everybody's saying, but everybody likes our parks, and I think everybody knows that we have been fiscally responsible for the construction of the projects that we put out there. We don't always hit the budget. We were a little over budget on the science playground. That was due to some construction issues that we ran into that hadn't been anticipated, as somebody just mentioned, as a developer. The district and every one of us live and work in this community just like the rest of you do. It's been interesting to hear the concept. I've had a number of meetings that we've had with members of the public, and in one meeting we had 15 people in a row come up to us and say, raise your millage rate so you can get this golf course completed. I'm hearing, I'm thinking there's a number of people there in the audience that support that concept, but just don't want to get up and take issue with the folks that are very vociferous about not raising the taxes. So for those of you who are silent, and I know I see some of you who've been at our meetings, and I think the majority of you in the audience have probably not been to one of our meetings in the last, and I've been on this commission for 24 years, and I don't know where you've been. We welcome may be in the minority, but I think it's warranted based upon the projects that I see coming down the horizon. And these projects, in the past, the district has been good about staging these projects, not trying to get them all done at one time, and tried to pay for them as we went along. If you looked at, I don't know whether you saw the millage chart that we had, but we've raised our millage when we felt the need to get a project done, and then when that project was completed, we dropped the millage, and that's been our history over the 24 years that I've served this commission. And Madam Chairman, at this point, I'll yield the microphone.
Mr. Ernst.
Bob, I think that your comments are well received, and I agree with what you're saying. And for the audience, I guess I've only been on this board. For the group, I've only been on this board for a little less than 3 years, and I will say every one of these people are fiscally responsible. And we did this when we started the golf course thing, was to save the green space. So you can question the decision on the purchase price, you can question a lot of the different things, but this is a salt of the earth type people who are doing good things. I come to it with a financial background. I like to contribute to that. I do believe that there is an offer on the table with the city. We have worked tirelessly. I feel bad that I was not able to push it over the edge to help get an agreement and work with them, because we started this well over a year ago, and we went to the city and started in February, and then it went on through June, July, August, and nothing happened. I can understand the frustration of the people who live in Boca Chica. I personally believe that the north end of town deserves something that will be the focal point to build it. And the golf course or whatever else something needs to be there, and it just doesn't have the attention of the city. But we do have 3 city council people here, and I think they will give it that attention. And I also think that this has caused such a hot point of issue for all of our community that we all need to do something. And for those reasons alone, when you have a city council who gives you a 5-0 unanimous resolution saying, please don't raise your taxes, I do think it's a little bit, they're saying 2 different things. They're saying, hey, look at all the projects you have to do, you can't afford them. So to your point, Bob, there is going to be a time that we need to raise taxes. And it simply is, it's crazy to think that you're not going to, you can't throw all these things on us and say, you got to do this and the golf course too. I think we have nothing to do with the inlet dredging that we got tagged for $7.5 million. I think we have nothing to do with the $1.6 million of the CRA, but we all live here. And so the district is contributing to those things, and we will continue to contribute and honor our agreements. The agreement that was put forth to the city was approval of the design, and we never could get agreement on the design. So that troubles me. But I am more than willing to work with that city, our city, community, to work together to come to a common understanding. And if we can't, then we'll come back next year and there will be some kind of tax increase. But at this point, I would prefer that, and I recommend that we keep the millage rate the same and we work together to come to a solution on it.
Am I on? No. It works. I've never lost sleep before as a result of an issue before the Beach and Park District. This one I've lost sleep over because I can't say anybody's wrong here. The people that want to keep the millage rate where it is, a lot of you have businesses in the city, a lot of you own commercial property, and it's not $80 that you're worried about. If you have a $30 million property, it's not $80, it's more like $80,000. So I understand that. By the same token, there are people here who feel, well, you know, we need a golf course. And we want it done right. And the Price-Fazio plan has all the earmarks of a job done right. So I can't argue with those people either. Okay, so this has been a very tough issue for me. I'm speaking, I'm letting it all hang out here tonight. I would very much like to build a golf course with the Price-Fazio plan. The city has been extremely strenuous in its objection, city council. And their primary reason is the expense. Fine. If the city wants to build a golf course, I'm okay with it. Okay? And we'll just have to let the chips fall where they may. I'm taking Councilman Thompson at his word, Councilman Rogers, Councilwoman O'Rourke, Mayor Singer, Councilwoman Mayotte. You guys say you can do it, I'm taking you at your word. Okay? A point about the $40 million offer, Councilman Thompson and I discussed it, and I told him I liked it, but I needed to see more detail. The detail hasn't been forthcoming, so I really can't speak to that, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. If it's there and it's real, and it happens in this fiscal year, and it's something that we can afford, great. If not, then even if we don't increase the millage rate this year, it's down, all we're doing is kicking the can down the road. Because we've got, just on on the program that's in front of me, we've got almost $38 million in capital improvements that we're responsible for. This does not include things like the Rutherford Center. This does not include things like the second field house here at Sugar Sand. That's several $1 million right there. The money's got to come from somewhere. So we don't do it this year, we'll do it next year. If not next year, the year after. But as all of you are very, very well aware, there's no such thing as something for nothing. Okay? Can these costs be valued engineered down? It's possible. You know, I'm not that expert. We have staff that is responsible for looking at those things. But be aware that even if we don't have a millage rate increase this year, it's coming. All right, unless something changes radically, unless even if Councilman Thompson's plan comes to fruition and we get $40 million, we still have to pay it back. We still have to include debt service in our budget. So for this year, and like I said, I'm torn. And despite all the people that are I'm lucky I still have my arms in my sockets, the way I've been pulled in each direction. After a lot of thought, I'm going to keep the millage rate where it is. That's how I'm going to vote. But be aware that we may sit here next year and with the same people telling me, well, we don't want a tax increase, something has to give. So if we don't do it now, we're going to have to do it later. And thank you all for coming. And I'd really, really like to see this kind of attendance at a meeting in February where we're talking about, well, what kind of seed are we going to buy for the tulips? Your input is essential to the way we function.
Thank you, Ms. Lindberg. Commissioner Wright? Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
So thanks for coming. And if you've been here before, you know I always speak from my gut or my heart. And I've heard what everybody has to say. I live in the north end of town, so this is important to me as much as it is to you. We've been talking about golf so much, I feel like it's taken over our commission. And in not a good way, because it's kind of caused a rift between, not that it wasn't there before, for, but between us and council, we've really tried, I personally have tried to mend the relationship between the commission and the council. And I still believe that there's something that can be done there. Whether it be the city taking over the golf course construction, or working something out with them. I feel like from the very beginning, we promised not to raise taxes for the golf course. And I still feel that way. I've spoken to Bria numerous times on the capital improvements that need to be done for the city. It would help to raise taxes maybe 5%, but in the end, she said she can work with what she has at the moment. So I'm kind of sticking with the current millage rate. You take it year by year, and you have to decide year by year what you need to do with the millage rate. But at this point, we can do what we need to do for the next fiscal year with what we have. And we really need to sit down and figure out this golf course because it's all consuming. You guys have much more on your plate than what we have. At my time. But that's kind of where I'm at, and I don't want to raise taxes. I don't want to raise taxes for a golf course. I don't want to raise taxes if we don't have to raise taxes. So if we don't have to, I'm not going to move for it. So that's where it is.
I think that we can come to some kind of an agreement with the city at some point. We just have to sit down at another joint meeting and possibly, have the city do the west side, we do the east side, with some agreement on who the designer would be. I think someone in the last meeting said that there was an 8-figure number that the city was willing to share with us, but we have not seen a formal written agreement. So each body is going to have to meet and decide what they want, and then we'll have to meet together. So, as you know, there is we have options. We don't have to go up to the 19.43 rollback percent. We do have options, but hearing from the 4 commissioners, with 3 of them being opposed to the millage hike, I would call for our council to read resolution number 2019-05, and we will vote on that and then go from there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Resolution 2019-05 is a resolution of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District of Palm Beach County, Florida, adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District of Palm Beach County for fiscal year 2019-2020, providing for an effective date. And for the record, the resolution as read provides for the fiscal year 2019-2020 final operating millage rate of 1.0519 mils, which is greater than the rollback rate of 0.8808 mils by 19.43%. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Horowitz. Joanne, would you call? Yes. Would you call?
You need a motion.
Oh, we do need a motion.
Call the roll.
Jake, we need a motion to approve this resolution, or when is the opportunity for a commission to make an alternative motion?
The resolution read into the record is the resolution that was adopted, essentially your first public budget hearing, which includes the tentative millage rate of 1.0519 mils as proposed. If a member of the commission would like to amend that rate, it would be appropriate to make a motion to amend. You first vote on the amendment, followed by a motion to approve the item as amended.
I'd like to make a motion to amend.
Do I hear a second?
You state what your motion is.
I'd like to make a motion to amend it to the current rate of 0.9147.
Second.
That's 3.85% over the rollback rate.
Thank you. You need a motion on the amendment, followed by a on the resolution as amended.
Discussion, commissioners? Hearing none, Joanne, would you do a roll call?
Sure. Commissioner Ernst?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins?
No.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
No.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I need a motion on the resolution as read as amended by Commissioner Ernst.
I'd like to make such a motion.
Discussion, commissioners? Would you restate the motion, Craig?
I'd like to make the motion that the tax rate be set at 0.9147 for the upcoming fiscal year.
Joanne?
Commissioner Ernst? Vogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins?
No.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Mr. Horowitz, would you read resolution number 2019-06, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, Resolution 2019-06 is a resolution of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District of Palm Beach County, Florida, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2019-2020, providing for an effective date. You need a motion?
It was a little fast.
Yeah.
I'm getting slower in my head. Did you say the same right there?
The millage has been adopted. This is to adopt the budget. The millage lays the predicate
Okay,
for the
to adopt
budget.
the
This is
budget.
solely on the adoption of the budget.
Got it. I make a motion to adopt the budget.
I'm sorry, who seconded it?
Do I hear a second?
A second.
Okay. Discussion? Joanne, please make a roll call, please.
Sure. Commissioner Ernst?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Motion passes. Seeing that we have no more business,